Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pro Dev Lab podcast. My name is Dave Deese, and I am your host for this podcast. Today, I want to talk about obstacles, direction, or redirection. And in the past, I've talked a lot about how the obstacle is the way. Credit given to Ryan Holiday, the great modern Stoic and author who wrote a book called The Obstacle is the Way. And I think it's a great book. I still have it in my nightstand so that I can reference it. It's a great book. It's one of those books you could read in an afternoon or study it for a lifetime. And I've read it twice and I still reference it a lot. Now, what I learned from that and how the Stoics taught, if you will, is how obstacles can show you the direction that you should go. They're not necessarily there to block you or stop you. They're there to challenge you and welcome you and say, come this way. Now, the latest example for me was a financial one where I had a financial challenge and I didn't know which way to go. And my default was to ignore it, turn my back on it. It's kind of like that, if my grandpa taught me when I was a kid how to drive in the Boston area. And when he said was you see people in the crosswalk, they're going to turn their head and pretend they don't see you. And if they don't see you, you don't exist. So just be careful. So anyways, kind of like that when it comes to money. For some reason, I was always have been that way. Well, after reading this book and studying how the obstacle is the way, I changed it and I faced it and I took it on, straight on. So we tightened our budget and I found a part-time job right down the street from me at a music store. And turns out I really enjoy it. I enjoy being there. I enjoy helping people and helping the store to do better, I hope. That's my plan. And so the finances are getting better. And so it's just an example of how when that obstacle came up, hey, okay, you get this financial challenge, what are you going to do? I could turn and just ignore it. It didn't matter that later down the road, I couldn't see that far because, if I turn my back on it, the trouble is not there either, right? So the financial's not there and so on. And of course, that's not reality. But that was how I used to kind of see some challenges. Okay, I'll turn my back on it. But in this instance, I finally learned to face it, that obstacle was not put there to stop me from being successful. On the contrary, it said, come this way and take it on and grow from there. On the other hand, sometimes obstacles will be there for you to redirect. So if something's in your way, road is closed. Well, you don't crash through the sign. You find another route, right? And that's kind of how I lived earlier in my career, not too long ago, where I worked for this networking training company that I really loved. I loved being there, loved the people, loved the job, loved traveling and so on. So many things to love about that job. And then the business kind of didn't do so well, and I was let go. I was laid off through a RIF and reduction in force, and I had to find work. The provider of my family, so I had to find work. So I was in the networking business, right? So I found some work on the side, paid pretty well, building companies' networks, helping people with their networks. The problem was I didn't enjoy it. I actually couldn't stand it. So it wasn't really about money in that case. I couldn't figure it out. What is it? And I was wrong. It wasn't about the networking part. It was the training part. I love teaching. I love helping people to improve themselves. My biggest thing is I want to train people so they can improve their lives. I can't improve it for them, but what I can do is I can provide them tools so that they can get that promotion. They can do better. So it moved away so much from technology into things like communications, listening, this podcast. And I really loved the idea that the obstacle as the way wasn't saying keep pushing into networking. It was go look over here, look at the other skills. So when I started looking for another job or thinking about starting a company, I was like, what do I really love? So I changed my resume. I changed my job search. I focused on my skills as a trainer because that was my real passion. So I found a job for a software company teaching their software. And now I'm doing these podcasts and training for Knowledge Wave. And am the director of professional development at Knowledge Wave, developing and training on what we typically call soft skills. Here we call them Pro Dev, right? Because this is the Pro Dev Lab. Anyways, what I'd like you to consider is when you face obstacles at work, home, or just generally in life, don't blow them off. Stop for a moment and look at the obstacle and decide, is the obstacle telling me to go in the direction of that obstacle because that's what's going to make me better? Or is the obstacle saying, look peripherally at something else? See if there's a way around that road closed stop sign. So that is the Pro Dev Lab podcast for today. And obstacles, direction, or redirection. My name is Dave Deese, and I'm your host for this podcast. And thanks for listening. I hope to talk to you in a future podcast. If you like this podcast, please share it with friends, family, and anybody you think of. And give it a like, give me a comment, and love your feedback. Again, it's Dave Deese for the Pro Dev Lab. Be well.